But first, Attorney General Bill Barr sitting down for a wide-ranging interview with Fox News earlier today, and it's driving the critics nuts.
Attorney General Bill Barr, short on specifics, long on rhetoric today.
This Attorney General is the Attorney General of President Trump's fantasies.
He acts more and more like the total mouthpiece of the president. It is more than disappointing.
Absolutely incredible. You know, Barr has done nothing but damage his credibility with law enforcement.
I mean, you might as well just slap, you know, an ex-KGB badge on our Attorney General.
That was disgusting. What did Barr actually say, though, that was so controversial? Well, not a whole lot. Now, he did preview how the investigation into the investigators might play out and why. Well, let's unpack each of the significant takeaways one by one. Now, it's important for all of you tonight to understand every bit of this. First, here's why Barr initiated this investigation.
No one's really looked at it. I think there's a misconception out there that we know a lot about what happened. The fact of the matter is, Bob Mueller did not look at the government's activities. He was looking at whether or not the Trump campaign had conspired with the Russians. But he was not going back and looking at the counterintelligence program.
Second, the AG reveals the more he digs, the more questions he has.
I've been trying to get answers to questions, and I found that a lot of the answers have been inadequate. And I've also found that some of the explanations I've gotten don't hang together. So in a sense, I have more questions today than I did when I first started.
He also explained why the nature of the players behind this campaign to spy on Trump was unusual, even to a seasoned vet like Barr.
This was handled at a very senior level of these departments. It wasn't handled in the ordinary way that investigations or counterintelligence activities are conducted. It was sort of an ad hoc small group, and most of these people are no longer with the FBI or the CIA or the other agencies involved.
And fourth, and perhaps most importantly, Barr reveals why it's in the public's interest that he pursue potentially the corrupt origins of the Russia probe.
If we're worried about foreign influence, for the very same reason we should be worried about whether government officials abuse their power and put their thumb on the scale. And so I'm not saying that happened, but I'm saying that we have to look at that.
Bingo. Now, given the challenges, only someone of Bill Barr's stature could weather the petty political attacks and actually remain effective.
When you took this job, did you think Democrats would make you the target?
Yes.
You were ready for that?
Yes. I thought I was in a position where this kind of criticism really wouldn't bother me very much.
He's just completely not affected by any of this. It's buzzing all around him. He just does his job. And all of this drives the resistance crazy. Joining me now with reaction, Harmeet Dhillon, attorney and member of the Trump 2020 Advisory Council, John Eastman, senior fellow at the Claremont Institute and constitutional law professor at Chapman University, and Ari Fleischer, former White House press secretary and Fox News contributor. Ari, I want to start with you. I want to hit that last bit of the video we just played. Barr seems to almost, he kind of almost welcomes all these partisan barbs, and they're really nasty being thrown at him. So how important is it that these new investigations unfold without any other interference?
Well, it's vital. And if the Democrats held themselves to the same standards they tried to hold the Trump administration to, they'd be guilty of obstruction of justice themselves, the way they're going after the Attorney General. You know, Laura, you played that long clip of the Democrats criticizing Barr. Do you remember when Eric Holder, Barack Obama's Attorney General, called himself Barack Obama's wingman? Those were his words. He called himself his wingman. Do you recall any people going nuts saying, how can he say that? He's supposed to be independent. Look, Bill Barr is a seasoned, experienced Attorney General, and that's exactly what we need now to figure out what, if anything, was done improperly when they authorized all these wiretaps and surveillance techniques to be used against Trump.
John, the tweet that just came out about 20 minutes ago from our old friend Jim Comey, the following. He writes, the AG should stop sliming his own department. If there are bad facts, show us, or search for them professionally and then tell us what you found. An AG must act like the leader of the Department of Justice, an organization based on truth. Donald Trump has enough spokespeople. Boy, they're all singing from the same hymnal, John.
Well, they are, and I think James Comey in particular is a little bit worried where this investigation is going to lead, so they're trying to discredit it on the front end. The facts we do know, Hillary Clinton and the DNC illegally laundered money to Fusion GPS to pay for a dossier with Russian intelligence sources part of it. We learned that this last week. And they did that in order to authorize spying on the opposition political campaign. I mean, this is a scandal of historic proportions, and I'm pleased that Attorney General Barr is finally willing to get to the bottom of it.
I mean, there's something that is so absolutely hilarious about how just unaffected he is by all. He's just like batting it all away. He doesn't get emotional or dramatic about it. And Harmeet, he also was asked about the Mueller report's obstruction decision itself. Let's watch.
Were you surprised that he came back with no recommendation on that obstruction charge? That surprised you?
Yes, that surprised me.
How come?
Because the function of a prosecutor is to make a call one way or the other. He gave an explanation for it, and it's pretty much reflected in the report.
You're okay with him testifying?
Absolutely.
Harmeet, interesting there. I mean, he was himself surprised that there was no obstruction recommendation, but he doesn't care. If Mueller wants to testify, Mueller can testify. I mean, he doesn't look like someone who has anything to hide. He's not worried about stonewalling the Democrats for information. He's like, go ahead.
Right. I mean, he is unflappable in the face of this type of histrionic demagoguery, calling him a KGB agent and so forth. But I think he was actually pulling his punches a little bit in that particular response, Laura, because it was not appropriate for Bob Mueller to put all this dirt and smear and negative information out there about the president in this report and then not be able to pinpoint any particular crime. That's the type of smear and report that we used to see with the independent counsel, which has been discontinued, and it, meant to be sort of an impeachment report. And it's not what the special counsel report is supposed to be. It's supposed to be something that talks about crime or not crime. And so by punting on that and really putting this dirt out there, I think he did a disservice to his reputation. Bob Mueller did. And so Barr doesn't want to touch that. He's leaving Mueller to fend for himself on that, which I think is appropriate, but it does merit some criticism.
All right, panel, I want to get to another developing story tonight. New special counsel records are showing